Welcome to a podcast about something's Patreon exclusive. We break down each episode of the final season of HBO's Game of Thrones.
I said, baby, I don't hate you, but I hate to see you go.
Warg to me. Season 8, episode 5. Only one episode left. This one was called The Bells. Apparently, something important was supposed to happen with Bells. I don't know. I don't know if it did or not.
I think it did. I'd say most definitely.
Yeah, the bells were definitely prevalent. I did like this episode. It was probably the best episode so far, which it's not saying much, but it's still saying something. I expect the finale to supersede it. I think despite how sloppy some of the things will be, I think this whole time they've known how they wanted to land the plane, but they had to get everybody there. So I think they've put a lot of effort probably into finishing it the right way. They just had to, they didn't put as much effort in getting everybody there.
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I'm desperately hoping so, because it's been a ride. It's been a trip. But I agree with you, dude. I think it was the best episode of the season. Besides, I really liked episode 2. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but the bells for me was just, there was a lot of progress, I guess is a good way to say it. A lot of shit was happening, but it was kind of weird how they went about it.
Yeah, and well, I think we'll get into that here in a few minutes. I liked in this one, it was another battle episode like episode 3 and part of episode 4. This one, the logistics of the actual battle seemed to make sense. Like, people were moving in ways that you would expect them to move in a battle. The dragon was destroying things. People were charging the gates in a normal way. You know, you came face to face with the soldiers and they attacked they broke the rules of war. But other than that, they were like in the places they should have been at the times they should have been there. There was no, I don't know, just getting mobbed by 50 people and then still being alive in the next scene. There wasn't any of those like logistical quandaries that came up in the last battle of like, okay, well, Sam just got literally caved in by 50 whites and then he's just standing there in the next scene. So
the only person that happened to me for was Arya, I think, because how the fuck she didn't die, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll talk about Arya when we get there. I don't want to bury too much on that, but I'll definitely agree with you on that.
Well, another thing that you made me think of is the battle plan. It wasn't necessarily... there were moments where I'm just like, God damn it, of course, this is dumb. But it wasn't like episode 3 where it was just like,
it was like every move every person made seemed like it was dumb.
It's like, why are you set up this way? Why are you doing this? This makes zero sense. Like, you're supposed to be experienced people. Yeah,
why is your infantry in front of your siege weapons and barriers? Like, they shouldn't be there. Put them behind there where they can be safe.
Yeah, because you kind of need to protect those, and those are big time.
Mm-hmm. So, there's a lot of logistical battle things that were much better in this episode.
Yes.
I would say they listened to the feedback, but that doesn't really happen because this is all done and over with before any feedback comes back on them. So, we got let's just jump into the episode. We're going to go...
Let's do it.
Chronologically through the episode until we get to the battle, and then we're going to switch it up and just kind of do character focused things. We're going to focus on each character and their journey through the battle. Otherwise, we'd just be jumping back and forth, and it would be way too confusing to do it that way.
Definitely, even if you've seen it already, which I'm sure all of you have.
I hope so.
Listening
if you're listening
to it. Yeah. Otherwise, spoilers.
Yeah,
but it'll be much easier to follow this way. So I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, there was a lot of chaos in that battle, and as we know, chaos is a ladder. So.
Chaos is a ladder.
I really liked in the previously on this episode when they got to the point where Missandei got her head lopped off and Dany's kind of like staring there. They had all of the voiceovers of allusions to Targaryen madness throughout the series.
Yes.
Like kind of ringing in her head. And I feel like if that was in the actual episode, that like twitchy face she was making would have made a lot more sense. Mm-hmm. And that like we still got it here. I just kind of really liked... You're really seeing what she's thinking. You're not just seeing her make this twitchy face, this dumb twitchy face.
Well, that's how it would be in the books. Like, it's,
right. She would be thinking all of those things in her head.
Exactly. And the way they did it with, like Cersei and her brother and stuff like that was great. Mm-hmm. I thought they did awesome with that. That definitely piqued my interest for the episode.
Yeah. I was... After that, I was kind of like ready to go into the episode, let's get it on. We start out, Varys is writing letters. He gets visited by a little girl who a lot of people think Varys was trying to use her to poison Daenerys.
I think so too.
Yeah, that makes
just
sense.
From the line, "We'll try again at dinner."
Yeah, like he asked her if it worked, like if she had any luck or something like that, and the girl said she's not eating. So like that, Varys was trying to poison her. I think that's the prevailing theory, and everybody pretty much is on board with that.
I agree, but I just felt like Varys has been off the past 2 seasons, and it really came through in these first couple minutes of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for the Master of Whispers, he's not being very secretive.
No, he just walks onto the beach and talks to Jon about treason.
It's like, hey, what's up, man? I think you should be king. And when he covers his letters, he does it with, like, the parchment they use, you could see through it.
Yeah.
So he covers it, and it's like, oh, I can just read everything no matter what. He didn't know who was on the other side of the door.
Right, and
Maybe he did.
It just shows, like, that they kind of lost his character. Like, I really felt like he didn't have any other purpose in since he got back to Dany, really, other than to eventually betray her. So they knew he had to betray her, but in between him going back to her in Marine and actually betraying her, they just didn't do anything with him. He was just like there, doing mostly nothing.
Looking weird in the background.
Yeah. So, like, it's cool that he betrayed her because she needed people to betray her in this moment to further push her into madness. But at the same time, like, they didn't build him up as, like, one of her trusted advisors. Like, she never trusted him. One of the first things she says to him is, like, you tried to have me killed. I'm going to burn you alive if you do anything close to betraying me.
Mm-hmm. She doesn't think highly of him. That's for damn sure.
Well, no, he literally tried to have her killed in season 1. If not for Jorah, she would be dead. So, on his account. And that's another thing with Varys is, like you said, he's not working in the shadows anymore. He's just blatantly telling Tyrion, telling Jon, this is what we need to do. Like, instead of when in seasons 1 and 2, kind of, he's working with Illyria Mopatis to get Dany and Viserys over. Like, he's using go-betweens instead of, like, being the one to do things. Even with Ned in the books and the dungeons, he's, pretending to be someone else, or there's always, it's never Varys directly telling someone something, unless it's something he wants them to believe that may or may not be true. Like, in books 2 and 3, he plays Tyrion like a fiddle to get Tyrion to buy into what he's selling. And, like, we don't get any of that in these last couple seasons of him just, like, working people and making them think what he's saying is the best plan, even if it's not
at all. I mean, he's the master manipulator, and I think that title that he carried, the Master of Whispers, and how much he has manipulated the timeline and the events of Westeros, I think they kind of dropped the ball with him the past 2 seasons, and it comes through. Like, I mean, we'll get there, but his arc the past 2 seasons leading up to his death really just didn't do it for me.
I don't even know that it's an arc. He was just, like, there until he was there to betray her.
He might as well be an extra. Yeah. He got paid.
Oh, I'm sure. Then Jon arrives. We already talked about that. Varys just openly admitting treason when Tyrion's onlooking from a cliff.
Yeah.
What I don't get in this scene is why Jon doesn't just go, like, because Varys says, he's kind of implying that he knows who Jon is. He thinks Jon would be a better ruler, blah, blah, blah. Why doesn't Jon just say, I'm Ned Stark's bastard, nothing more. If you continue this conversation, I'm going to execute you for treason. Like, he doesn't do that, and instead just says, I don't want it. So that confirms what Varys is saying, rather than just deny.
Well, I'm going to, 2 things is, Jon, I'm going to say, assumes that Varys already knows.
Right.
And 2, Jon's been on this real stupid, not lying. I mean, even Tyrion called him out for bullshit, and that would be a lie.
I guess.
He doesn't do that.
Yeah, it just seems like if she is his queen, like he says she is, then you wouldn't even, like, even if you think Varys knows or know Varys knows, you would just play it off and be like, that's whatever you've heard is not true, and if you continue to go with it, like, you're gonna get executed. But he's just like, oh no, yeah, you're right, but I'm not going to do it.
No,
I guess Jon's not really a savvy player of the game, but as you pointed out,
dim-witted when it comes to the game. He has no wherewithal or
game recognized game, or not so much game.
I don't know. Speaking of, she's my queen.
Yeah.
I counted 2 this episode, but I feel like every time I hear it now, it's just like nails on a chalkboard. I want to go back through and count exactly how many times he said that this season. I bent the knee. She's my queen.
She's our queen.
At least, I'm going with at least 10 by now.
It's got to be. It's up there with last season's. I've seen the Army of the Dead. I've looked the Night King in the eye. That was season 7's like go-to Johnism.
Johnism.
So then Tyrion approaches Dany in, I guess it's her chambers in Dragonstone. Her hair's unkempt. She has no makeup, so obviously she's a crazy bitch now. That's all that matters. You don't do your hair for a couple days, you're crazy.
She apparently looked very gaunt, but I thought she looked quite healthy. So
it looked like she just didn't put makeup on, not like starved or anything.
Well, I mean, how much time has passed?
I think we're supposed to think it's about 2 weeks because at the end of last episode, they were talking about waiting for Jon and the Northern Army, and somebody said it'll be a fortnight until the Northern Army gets here. So I think it should be around that time. So if she hasn't eaten in 2 weeks, she probably should be a little gaunt, but I'm with you. I didn't see gaunt. I just saw I just woke up.
Her hairdresser got her head cut off. Yeah, damn.
Apparently.
Typhoon.
Let's save the Mad Queen talk for when we get to her spot in the battle part, because I think that is more reflective there.
Yeah, sounds good.
She tells Tyrion Jon betrayed her. Why is she not wanting to kill Jon at this point? Like, what's stopping her?
She loves him. And she would totally have zero chance whatsoever of taking the 7 Kingdoms if she killed Jon.
You think so?
So far, oh yeah, dude.
But Sansa's in Winterfell. Like, she can't get there. All she has to do is tell the Northern Army that Jon betrayed her, that Jon was claiming that he was king, even though he's a bastard of Winterfell. And
they won't believe that shit. They'd be gone.
Yeah, they'd be gone, but that she still has a dragon. Like, in the scheme of things, once we saw what happened, I don't know that she needs the Northern Army to do what she did, or any army.
But I mean, those scorpions are mighty accurate. Even when they're bobbing up and down on the ship. So I think they'd be cool in Winterfell. That they might be able to take out a dragon. Yeah.
I just thought, she should be a little bit more angry at Jon or Tyrion or really all 3 of them for open. Then she's just like, oh, you guys don't believe me? That's cool. Whatever.
Yeah, it's one of those instances where it's like, and this doesn't make sense. So I just try to move past it at this point in the season.
So then, they come and get Varys. I called this part Varys' funeral, basically. Drogon just sneaks up on everybody somehow. 100-foot dragon just out of the dark.
Yeah, no shit.
What up?
He is creeping silently, like, what is that? I'm trying to think of a little creepy raccoon guy on PlayStation. Fuck it. I dropped dropped the ball on that one.
Damn, I never played that game, but I know who you're talking about. Like it's Sly Cooper. Sly Cooper, I think is his name. Yeah.
Yep. But anyways, one thing caught my eye when he was, he heard them coming and he removed his rings.
I thought that was going to be meaningful in some way.
Well, I didn't notice it at the time, but I was watching, What You Missed in Game of Thrones, and there's flames on one of the rings apparently, kind of like a someone who serves the Lord of Light, and I guess Melisandre, dropped her necklace when she was going to die, so maybe that signifies something. But he didn't turn all old, so I don't know.
Well, he's a servant
of the Lord of Light, or was.
Well, no, he's historically very afraid of magic because of the way he was cut. I think the flame might be because he's always been a Targaryen supporter.
That's good.
That would be my outlook on it if there was a flame on there.
I could see that.
Yeah. Drogon also great aim. Just 10 people around in a very pretty tight circle and just right in on Varys, and that's it. I don't know how they pull that off, but good job, Drogon.
Yeah, I mean, he's very controlled. You see it later in the episode. He's very efficient.
I guess that's what it is later in the episode.
Yeah.
And just again, why not kill Jon? I mean, it's as if he is alive, this is going to keep happening. People are going to keep trying to raise him up. So just take him out. Have somebody else do it. You've got Dothraki at your service who would do anything for you. Let one of them do it.
that would be the way the show should be written.
I mean,
I would be really
I-
happy with that.
I understand. I don't even think the show should be written that way because like that it takes away your central conflict between the two of them. But like
Yeah.
as a ruler, you should have no problem killing this person who's trying to negate your claim, basically.
Exactly. If you want to be the last Targaryen and
Yeah.
have that mean something, you got to chop his head off or
Yeah.
cook him. She's pretty good at cooking people.
Yeah, she does. She does like burning people alive, as noted here with Varys. Then, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I will say her Dracarys was like the calmest and
Yeah.
most focused.
She's
one
like, I'm
I've
fucking
ever
done
heard
with
her
this
say.
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dracarys. I don't know.
Dracarys.
I had to say that because, and why didn't they show him get burnt? I feel like they show everybody get burnt, but not Varys.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're just like,
D&D. Why is that?
yeah, they're kind of over like the overt sexuality. Like, there's no sexploitation scenes anymore. There's no like super bad violence anymore. I guess maybe they knew that what was coming later in the episode with literally thousands of people burning and that they would show a lot of that. Maybe they didn't want to show it there just to kind of like save the shock value. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it
Still
seems
pretty-
like they've
pretty
toned a
damn
lot of the
shocking.
violence and sexuality down in the last 2 seasons.
I totally agree with you there.
Then we get Jon visits Dany in her, quarters. Grey Worm burns Missandei's chain first. Okay, fine. And then Jon comes in again, another chance to kill Jon. Like Grey Worm would do it without even a thought if you told him
yeah,
to.
dude. That'd be a good fight.
And then you just tell everyone he was a traitor and he was plotting to kill you, so you killed him first. If I was the ruler, that's what I'd be doing.
Most likely. That's probably what I would be doing too.
She tells him far more people love you than they love her. She hasn't done anything to earn anyone's love.
No, and she looks so upset about it
She's done
too.
nothing. Like, she can't figure out why Jon has earned everyone's love, but like she literally hasn't done anything except burn the Tarleys and the Lannister army.
Pretty
And
much.
say, I'm the queen now.
I want the Iron Throne like 500 times.
Not to mention Iron Islanders on her side, the Reach on her side, Dorne on her side, the new Prince of Dorne, whoever he may be. Like, she does have people following her and that are loyal to her and not Jon. So I don't know, like, the show keeps trying to tell us this stuff and then forget about it in the next scene, because they talk about Yara and the Iron Islanders and the Prince of Dorne in the last season, and now come this season, or last episode, sorry.
Yeah.
And then come this episode, it's just like, oh, nobody has my back except the Unsullied and the Dothraki, which is not true.
I wonder how much of their loyalty is directly tied to Jon Snow, though.
The Iron Islanders? None. Like, Yara met Daenerys and wanted to be following Daenerys. She's never met Jon Snow.
Yeah, but I don't know. I felt like they played upon the
Same with
brother-sister thing with Theon and Yara. So, as a respect for Theon, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, it's just weird that, like, basically most of the continent is not taken into consideration for most of this season.
That'd be
It's-
way too much
It's
work
the
for them.
North, King's Landing, and Dragonstone. Those are the only thing that mattered right now.
Just like it's Daenerys, Jon, Arya, and
Right.
Tyrion.
Right. But even
That would be
Tyrion,
it.
like, his lands haven't come into question at all. Like, nobody said, oh, you're the ruler of Casterly the Rock now. Like, none of that exists. I guess they gave the Stormlands to Gendry, so one other region came into play. But, like, the Vale army hasn't been mentioned, even though they're supposedly still working with the Northern army. I don't know why they just forgot about 6 of the 7 kingdoms.
I didn't think I really noticed any Vale soldiers when they stormed.
I don't think
King's
they're
Landing.
dressed any differently, but like Bronzion Royce early in the season was just always in the background next to Sansa pretty much, or having conversations with Sansa.
Hmm.
So that's like the only link to them still around. And then we get the scene where Dany tries to kiss Jon, make a move on him, kind of because he, confesses his love one last time, says you're my queen for the 100th time,
You're my queen.
but he won't kiss her. And
Suck it up, dude.
I think it has more to do with her literally just burning Varys and him having to watch that more than like she's his aunt, because it kind of felt like in the last episode when they were drunk, like he was a little closer to being into it until they had a disagreement. So he knew she was his aunt at that point. I think it's more like, I literally just watched you burn a dude alive. Now you want me to bang you? I'm not for that.
When you phrase it like that, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But that's when you just go, I just watched you burn somebody, and now you want me to bang you? Like, what's up with that?
John's not always great with the words. I mean, just wanted to kiss you there.
You might have a good laugh out of it. I don't know. You might not feel so isolated.
Right.
Daenerys.
So then we get another war council where literally it's the exact same war council every time. Dany wants to burn everything. Tyrion keeps selling her on the look, let's just starve people out. Like, dude, stop it. She's not buying it.
Cut it out.
Yeah, give up on it.
Well, at this point, he has no other argument than we must be merciful. It's not anything logistic or
Cersei loves her children.
Yeah,
she'll do anything for her children. That's his go-to.
She's super pregnant, even though she hasn't grown a fucking inch this whole season.
Yeah, and anyone who thought that baby was going to actually be born, like, you're fucking crazy.
And at the same time, I saw no inclination that there was actually a baby.
That the baby plot was necessary in any way. Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah. But yeah, I guess the baby plot was just there so Tyrion could say, well, she'll do anything for her children, so let's try appealing to her again about her child. That doesn't exist because she's not going to have a baby ever in this season. So you talked about Tyrion, trying to sell mercy, and we get the line from Dany, mercy to future generations who will never be held hostage by a tyrant. Like, you want to burn everyone. You can't have future generations if you burn everyone existing. My wife pointed that out as we're watching. Like, what the fuck do you mean?
Well, definitely. And if you rule without the love of the people and you use fear, you're a tyrant.
Yeah, exactly.
So you are exactly what you're saying. We got to save these people from a tyrant.
And okay, you could be talking about future generations from the other regions of Westeros, but like, they're all just going to think you burned a bunch of people too. Yeah, like, that's all they're going to know of you.
Well, and you're reclaiming the Iron Throne, so if you have any, whoever gets the throne when you're dead, you're just going to pass on this bullshit. So yeah, I don't like that at all.
Why doesn't anybody call her on this bullshit? Like, this gets brought up a lot, and I don't want to go too deep into politics right now, but there's a certain person in the White House who spews a lot of bullshit, on a daily basis. And the journalists who are covering him don't ever say, well, what do you mean? Or like, can you expand upon that? They just like go along with this bullshit and keep it moving. It's kind of the same thing here with like Tyrion or Jon or Varys. Like, why isn't anyone calling her, like, saying, look, the things you're saying are very tyrant-ish. Like, maybe you shouldn't say things like that.
Yeah, but here's two dragons. There's a big one. I mean,
I'm not saying tell her she's an idiot. I'm saying, like, I get what you want, but this isn't the best way because then you're just replacing their tyranny with your tyranny. Giving her something to think about.
I totally agree with you, but this is poor writing, honestly. Yeah. Like, if her advisors aren't advising, other than just they're pleading to be merciful, that's right. That's all they're doing. They're
starve out the city alternatives. Yeah.
I mean, that's not even hardly that great of an alternative because they have.
No, but it's more the way of war at the time, or like in this world.
Shit, all they got to do is there's gonna be dead people. Get some diseased bodies, throw them over the walls.
I mean, that's what's going on in Marine right now in the books.
Yep, that'd be donezo. That'd be awesome.
Centurion goes to leave. She tells him they caught Jaime, which, I mean, they caught Jaime, obviously. Why didn't he just say he was there to fight with them? Like, why is he a prisoner? Like, he was literally just fighting with them, just being like, hey, I'm here to join, guys. Want to fight the good fight. But, okay, he's a prisoner, whatever. Let's move on from there.
I did like that scene.
With him, we're not quite to that yet. I just don't get why. Okay, let's say he admitted for whatever reason that he was going to help Cersei, and that's why they took him prisoner. Why keep him prisoner? Why not kill him? Again, this is a person that you should kill. He killed your father in what you believe is cold blood. Like, are you just keeping him prisoner so you have Tyrion by the balls? Like, what's the point there?
That's exactly the point.
I guess.
I think that's the.
I think you'd have Tyrion more by the balls if you just kill him and are like, "Yep, you're next. Don't fuck up again."
I think Tyrion cares more for Jaime than he cares for himself. And she does do that anyways, and that's just leverage. Like,
well, right.
Yeah.
She tells him, "Don't fuck up again," and then immediately he goes and tells the guard in the name of the queen to leave him alone with a prisoner.
I thought that was so dumb. Oh
like
my
literally
God, that
just
pissed
like,
me
"Hey,
off.
I'm the hand. Let me through. It's cool." The queen said it's cool.
Well, I mean, exactly.
After she just told me not to fuck up.
It's cool, bro. It's whatever. I mean, I'm the hand of the king.
Like that's not going to get back to her.
Yeah, no shit. And it's the Unsullied. Like they've been an Unsullied cut his nipple off or got his nipple cut off. Did not move an inch. Do you think he's really going to budge?
No, I get what you're saying though. Like the Unsullied's going to go like, all right, then you go get the queen and she can tell me. Like he's not going to listen to Tyrion.
Yeah. Who are you? I need orders.
Right. And even so, like, say his plan, let's say like he doesn't let Jaime out. He just goes and talks to him one last time. Blah, blah, blah. Like the Unsullied are still going to get the word back to Dany that like Tyrion tried to flex on him as hand of the queen and get him to leave their post. And she's not going to be happy even about that betrayal of getting the Unsullied to leave their post.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, he was not looking out for himself. But, yes, great scene between Tyrion and Jaime here.
Yeah, they did awesome. I love this scene.
Tyrion and Jaime are always great together.
Yeah, they
even
have
in
such
the
great
dumb
chemistry.
Orson speech thing, like, it was still just the two of them working together off of each other is amazing.
I love the way those actors work together. And it was one of the few times lately you see Tyrion, other than those fleeting moments, show serious emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he's kind of been hollowed out by all these events and seeing all this tragedy and living all this tragedy. You really see that he loves this person. I don't think Tyrion really cares for very many people.
I was really afraid that we were going to get the Tysha confession here that comes in the books of what that, like, she wasn't actually a whore and she was actually in love with him. That comes before Jaime releases Tyrion, and then it makes Tyrion hate Jaime and Jaime hate Tyrion because Tyrion tells him Cersei's fucking everyone else in the castle. So we didn't get that, and I'm really happy we didn't get that because it really doesn't fit as their like dying words to each other. Like that would be because that like Tyrion takes that and he hates Jaime for it. So if you put that there and have Tyrion bring all this hate into whatever comes after this battle, that it doesn't work. I'm glad they stayed away from that.
No, they should have. If they were gonna do it, they should have done it in previous episodes.
Yeah.
I think that would have been better. But a couple things that I did not get, like that really took me out of the moment, was why would Tyrion really think that Cersei would ever leave? Cersei and Jaime, like they would just go and be gone, and it'd all be great.
I think he trusts in Jaime's ability to convince her, and
he
she loves her children.
Evidence to do that.
No,
she loves those children.
Yeah, it's always she loves her children, so they think that they can appeal to her by loving her children over and over again.
Yeah. And the other thing that hit me was if Tyrion once again says, I know King's Landing better than anyone, remember my defense of King's Landing, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm. He says that a lot.
Why don't they send in a strike squad? Why don't they do Arya, the Hound, well, they already left, but why don't they take some competent soldiers, send 10 of those bitches in there and see what happens?
Take Ramsay's 10 good men and get to work, or just go in and ring the bell. Like, why can't he send somebody in competent to ring the bells?
And I mean, it'd be super easy to blend in King's Landing. All you gotta do is dress like, in linen rags and
filth, shit on yourself. You're good.
Just poo.
Send Davos in there. He's not a fighter. He's told us a million times when he brings the little skiff to the beach, just have him walk up the steps.
Yeah, and where did he go after that? Like, did he carry that boat there? Did he sneak up and?
Yeah, I don't know. He was in the battle next to Jon, so he got back somehow.
Another instance of those time travel tokens.
I don't know. We'll stay away from that. Let's get into the battle.
Let's do it.
We're gonna go kind of character by character. Let's start with Drogon.
My dude Drogon.
We unleashed the beast. Like he's
so raw.
He's got a great usage rate in this episode.
Yes.
Which
And
before we haven't seen a lot of great dragon usage, but here, he comes down using the sun to shield
yes,
his
dude,
view.
I thought that was great.
That's how they brought down Harrenhal. In the how Aegon the Conqueror brought down Harrenhal. Just came straight down from the sun. He burns the ships first. Great plan. And then he goes along the wall and just burns all the scorpions. Again.
Yeah.
You're done. You did. Good job. Way to go, Drogon.
Exactly. I mean, that was one of those times you saw, him and Daenerys really being in sync.
Yeah, just the raw power of it.
Oh, yeah, and how low he flew when he's burning all the ships. Like, that's the only way that those scorpions really couldn't adjust fast enough, either without taking out their own ships or yada yada. And the same with they're smart. He took out the big guns first.
Yeah, instead of trying to attack straight at the castle, he went up along the side of the wall and just went one by one and just went around the wall of the outside. Like, no shit, that's the way you go.
Boom, boom.
Those scorpions can't turn 90 degrees. They can only turn little bits. So good job by Drogon. You did a great job. You got a lot of burning in. Yeah. I guess that's a great job.
You are an unlimited nuclear bomb because you never run out of fire.
Yeah, way to go. Way to go, Drogon. Flame on. Let's talk about the Golden Company.
Dude, I was so disappointed.
That's it? That's the Golden Company?
That was all
Why are they there?
Seriously, you talk about wasted CGI money. What is with all that? They looked cool when they were coming out to face off against the Northern Army and stuff. They looked cool. And I loved how they framed Harry Strickland's character, same as Jon.
Did he have a character?
I guess he has a name.
Yeah, I know. But he said, name. What, 6 words?
If that.
Yeah.
No elephants.
Yeah, no
elephants. Habla inglés.
Well, good thing they didn't bring the elephants if they were going to go out like total bitches like they did.
That's probably why they didn't. They had way too much money to waste.
I don't get why you put in the Golden Company in that situation. Why not just make up some BS about how big the Lannister army is? They've been doing that anyways. So why bring the name of the Golden Company? You've strayed away from it this long. Everybody thought that they were coming in to have a purpose, whether they betrayed somebody or they were really working for the Iron Bank or they were really working just for Euron or they joined a Targaryen side or Blackfire would come in, something like that. And it's just nothing. So why attach the Golden Company to it? Why not just
get people hyped?
I guess why not just bring the Second Sons and convince Dario that Dany just left him for nothing and now Dario has a grudge against Dany. Why not do that? Then you don't have to pretend to build up this new army.
Oh, they forgot about him. I mean, that's a way better plot line right there than anything they produce with the Golden Company. I
think at the end of next episode, part of it will be all of the loose ends that they just didn't bother with, Tyrion looking like he's in love with Dany. What is Dario doing over in Essos? All those things that kind of we thought we were hoping to get answers going into this season that are just we never know. Who's the Prince of Dorne?
Golden Company, that sucked.
Yeah. Thanks for playing along, Golden Company.
Harry Strickland.
Yeah, Harry Strickland. You went out like a bitch.
Yeah, you run like a bitch.
Then we got Tyrion. He's really good at staring, I guess. He didn't do much during the battle.
Having his jaw slightly open.
Yeah, staring, just waiting for those bells to ring. That's all he's got going for him. I love Tyrion, I love Dinklage, but that's it.
Yeah, they took away a lot of his smart characteristics, and they're just just stare longingly.
Yeah, it'll look like you're deep in thought.
Yeah, try to look like you're using mind powers Charles Xavier. Just get those bells to ring, buddy.
Qyburn, our favorite non-maester.
I loved his end. I loved it.
Yeah, that was great. The mountain just fucking demolishing him.
Bashed him, man. I mean, that was a good,
Qyburn's just a terrible person. Yes.
I thought the character of Qyburn was great.
Yeah. There's another loose end that didn't get answered. What the hell did Qyburn do with that hand that he picked up from the Bad Plan White that they brought back?
I think we don't want to know.
Well, I definitely don't want to know. Yeah, he was definitely jerking himself with it. But he comes to tell Cersei,
the Night King Creeper.
Yeah, he comes to tell Cersei, what's going on in the battle, and I really don't know how he knows everything. Like, he was just standing behind her, but he knows all the scorpions are gone. All the ships are taken out. Like, how is he everywhere and nowhere?
He brought someone back to life. He invented Bluetooth.
All of his little birds are most likely torched in the city right now. Like, all right, whatever. But yeah, great. Just trying to get the mountain to do what he's told, and the mountain just fucking smashes him. Good job.
Bashes his head. That was so awesome. I mean, he must have a skull like an eggshell.
I mean, he slammed it against a wall and then threw him on rocks.
But I feel like when he threw him on rocks, his skull exploded way more than he bashed him against the wall. So I
feel
don't know
like
what's
the
more...
mountain has super deaf person strength.
Well, I get that, but how is his body's forward momentum going to cause more damage than the mountain's super freakish strength?
I don't know, but I think we're spending too much time on Qyburn.
Yep.
Let's talk about somebody actually important. Daenerys Stormborn, House Targaryen, first of her name, Queen of the Andals and the First Men, Mother of Dragons, the Unburnt, Breaker of Chains. Am I missing anything? I feel like I'm missing a lot of things.
Yeah. You Khaleesi
of the Great Grass Sea. Stallion who mounts the world. I'm sure she's claimed herself by this point.
Yeah, there's lots of... She has so many.
Anyway, let's talk Dany. Let's just call her Dany for short.
That's kind of what I put her in as all my notes, so
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. You can call her Big D, even if you want.
Big D. No, I'm not going to do that. She's not Dudley Dursley.
Sunny D. Because
Sunny
she's
D.
so sunny.
Well, she comes right out of the sun. So again, great battle plan from the beginning. She comes straight down from the sun and then takes out the scorpions from behind. Doing really good. And the bells ring. The Lannisters Serenly. Oh shit. Her face is twitching. She's crazy.
Yeah,
she's
thinking about
crazy.
something. She's crazy.
Don't forget that when her face twitches, that means she's gone to the other side.
Yeah, you just
I've
watch out.
got a bit of a rant here, so maybe you give your thoughts. You go on your rant first about what they did to her, and then I'll go on mine. How do you feel her turn went?
Stupid as shit, man.
Okay.
Like, why burn the city? Like, that's what I kept asking myself the whole time. It's like, okay, I get that you are taking this personally.
Did you watch the Inside the Episode with D&D?
Yes, I
where they're like, well, she saw her house and she realized she didn't get her house, so she went and burned her house. Like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Well, she took it really personal. It's like, well, no shit. She's taking it personal. Like, everything is culminated in this fight with Cersei. Why don't you just kill Cersei? You just roasted 20,000 men, all the scorpions. Like, you could fly right in, burn that bitch to the ground, and be done with it, and have an intact capital city.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
There's a lot of better things she could have done.
How are you going to defend that with no walls?
Yeah. It's going to be... King's Landing is going to be a rough place to live for the foreseeable future.
Yes. And I mean, I figured Dany was going to go Mad Queen because they fucking alluded it like crazy. Yeah, they
very heavy-handed twitchy faces going on in the last few episodes.
It just... And twitchy face scene on one. But it didn't really feel earned. It just didn't feel like that. Just seeing her house, exactly like the way you say it, seeing her house would really set her off to crisp like 250,000 people.
I read the scene in a different way. I think her madness is earned, but I don't think it was so abrupt in that moment with like just twitchy face and now I'm gonna burn everything that it felt petty and childish. It felt more like I'm angry that the bells are ringing because I didn't get to win my way, because she was going into the battle planning on just burning everything and didn't expect the bells to ever ring. So it felt like, oh, they're ringing, so I didn't get to do this my way. Fuck it, I'm going to do it my way anyways. That's how I felt the scene came off. And it didn't seem like this was just a slow 8-season descent into madness, which is what it should have been. And now, at the point where she's most vulnerable, she's finally succumbing to it and making the wrong decision. They didn't lead into that any. They tried so hard to make sure that she was likable for the first 7 seasons that it felt like this kind of came out of nowhere, which again, it didn't. There are plenty of times in the first 7 seasons where she does crazy things for like personal and petty reasons. But after she would do them, they would either hand wave them as like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, or or they'd justify it, or in some way of like it's for the greater good type things. Like it started when Viserys was dumped molten gold on his head, and she's just like, whatever.
Yeah. Fire doesn't burn the dragon.
Yeah. Every time she did something horrific, they just hand waved it, or they redeemed her in some way. They made her more likable than she was before she did the horrible thing. So you never got that like, oh, she's actually slipping into madness.
The way they did her is, it almost was like I could see myself doing a lot. Like, okay, Viserys was, or not, yeah.
Viserys was a terrible person and abused her.
Exactly. But burning, I mean, that's really raw. Like, that's bogus.
Each terrible decision she made in and of itself is not overly terrible, other than this one. Like, you know, burning all the calls in Vaes Dothrak the last time she was there, that in and of itself is not. But when you start to compound all these things, you see it as this bigger problem of, she kind of goes to this kind of quickly. And the show didn't ever do a good job of reminding us that she, while freeing slaves and doing all these great things, she was also doing terrible things on the other hand. And in the books, we get a much better sense of that because we're in her head, so we see her thoughts of why she's doing what she's doing, and we side with her. But then it'll switch to somebody else's point of view, even somebody like Barristan or Tyrion, who's like near her, and they'll start saying the things she's doing are bad. So we see both sides of it. We see why she thinks it's good, but we also see why it's bad. So there's other people around the world telling us she's not as good as we're supposed to think she is. And we don't get any of that in the show, other than Sansa and Arya being like, we don't like her.
Yeah.
But not giving a reason. We just don't like her. We don't trust her. She's not one of us. Like, they should have been, Sansa should have been pointing out to Jon, like, she burned the Tarleys. She burned several hundred Dothraki. She crucified the masters of, Yunkai. Yes, thank you. She ordered the murder of all of the masters in Astapor. She watched her brother die and just said, whatever. Like, Sansa or Cersei should have been pointing those things out to the people who were taking her side. And nobody was doing that. I feel like the madness switch that we got would have been more earned if there were people pointing these things out, and you kind of saw it in other people kind of losing faith in her as she drifted further and further. But we had no drift. It was just a couple episodes of Varys saying, I'm worried about her, and then her twitchy face, and now she's going to burn everything.
Well, and none of them doing anything to really stop it.
Right.
It's just that...
Or to reel her back in any way.
Other than say, now Khaleesi, like, you know, stop her, I guess, at the last second when she's barely mentioning that she wants to do these terrible things. They say no. She's like, oh, okay. And then most of the time still does them anyways.
Right. And it's not that her madness wasn't earned. I said that, you know, kind of at the beginning of my rant. It just, they didn't do a good job of reminding us that it was earned. And because they didn't want her to be unlikable until the moment she needed to be unlikable, they were so worried that for the first 7 seasons, you wouldn't buy a t-shirt that said Dracarys, that they couldn't let her character breathe any. They just had to keep redeeming her and building her up. You can't be a likable person and your first instinct is to burn people alive. So they played this game with us of like, they always just hand waved anything bad she did. And that's not fair to viewers.
Fuck no, man. We're smarter than that. She's like a sociopath, basically.
Yeah. And just last episode, we were supposed to be rooting for her. Everyone thought Cersei's the big bad, so we have to root for Dany and Jon to win, you know, the battle for the realm, and now we're just supposed to hate her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the people in the show are going to feel too. Like, oh, we didn't have any questions about her before, but now we have a lot of questions about her, and it hurts. At the same time, the shots of the city burning were really cool.
Yes.
They were a bit drawn out. There was a lot of them, but everything was shot. Yeah. Everything was shot from street level. And this was something that I'll give D&D credit for, that they did it. And when we talk about Arya, we'll get more into this. They did it from street level to show the chaos of it rather than giving the hero shot of Dany on the dragon's back winning.
I love that.
It's showing the actual fallout of what her winning is instead of showing her winning. And that's another reason why it feels abrupt, because every other time she's done one of these things, it's been from her point of view.
Yeah, and from the view on the ground, you really see the secondary destruction.
Right.
You know, yeah, people are getting burned alive, but how many people are crushed by rock or suffocated on the dust?
The dust and the ash, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was insane.
We got a lot of pointless wildfire explosions just throughout the city. It looked kind of cool with the green flare-ups, but at the to just kind of remind us that, oh yeah, they planted this all over the city, but at the same time, I wish it would have had some kind of actual impact.
Well, I mean, it was useless, basically. Like, it popped up and then it was gone.
Yeah,
and
as a plot point, it was useless. Like, okay, why even show us the wildfire if it's not going to do more? Because wildfire in the books is
devastating.
It's akin to Fiendfire in Harry Potter. In that, like, it just gets out of control. It can, like, kind of, if there's pyromancers working with it, they can work it into shapes to, like, attack, basically. It's really a cool thing that can just get out of control really easily, and we see it most in the Battle of the Blackwater in the books, and in this is just like a poof of green smoke. Great, cool.
Yeah, pretty much.
When really the wildfire would probably do more destruction than the dragon would in this case.
Yeah, I mean, it's like fucking napalm.
You got anything else on Dany before we move on?
Not really. I think we covered pretty much everything. I'll just end up kind of ranting against her, so let's move on.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. Let's talk Grey Worm. He got to kill Harry Strickland. Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty...
Way to go.
Righteous. Righteous. Well, he's throwing some serious side-eye at Jon later on in that battle.
Yeah, I think I had this on Jon's, but I thought we were going to get a 1-versus-1 of just Grey Worm versus Jon. That would have been cool.
I think we will.
I think
episode 6.
And Grey Worm will probably die in that one.
He's probably going to die pretty quick.
Grey Worm's not a great hand-to-hand combatant. He's more of a spear guy, as we can tell when he just, like, out of nowhere throws a spear at surrendered soldiers. Like, that's not a good look.
No, that's terrible. But, I mean, I get why they had him do that. Like, he's seeing his queen devastating the city. I think that was the plan all along, like you said. I think Grey Worm was in on it.
Well, it's the same thing. He's mad that Missandei's dead too, and he had all this pent up aggression that he didn't get to get out now. Sure, he got to stab Harry Strickland, but that was unsatisfying. He was on the ground already.
Yeah, and I mean the scene where it's kind of going quiet and he's just cutting people down. He knocked out like 12 people rapid fire, so he was doing some work.
Yeah. The Hound tells Arya that revenge isn't worth it. Don't end up like him. Good advice.
Loved this conclusion.
Clegane Bowl. Get it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it wasn't even the Clegane Bowl that satisfied the conclusion for me. I mean, it's the last, 2 seconds Clegane Bowl.
Right.
He gets the dog shit beat out of him, and
it was a good one-on-one fight, though.
It was a good one-on-one fight. You see how utterly impenetrable that the mountain is. Like, they did a good job of... Yeah, I mean, he got one through the face, and he's still going.
I really liked how it was framed with him. You know, every time he'd be getting the shit beat out of him, it would flash to Arya kind of struggling to get through the city on the ground level. Like, the way they frame them together as kind of survivors in the same way. Yeah, it was that was pretty cool, the way they kept going back and forth between them. I thought it was a little cheesy looking when they finally tackled him out the window and they're just falling to the fire. Like, the CGI on that wasn't great.
No, I thought it was pretty poetic though.
Yeah, the idea behind it is really good and makes sense. Like, they have to go out in fire because that's what basically made them as mortal enemies. So that's the only way to go out. I get that.
It would have been a way cooler shot if they did an over the shoulder shot from the mountain's perspective, I guess, as they're falling and crashing into the fire, and then it goes black for a second. Like, that would have been
kind of
cool.
like Gollum falling into Mount Doom with the One Ring. Got kind of shot like that.
How it follows him down.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
So let's talk about Arya.
My girl.
That scene with the Hound, I think she had been taking acting lessons from Emilia Clarke, because she was just kind of sitting there with this I smell poop face, twitchy lip. It wasn't a good look in just that scene, her trying to emote, but everything else she did was great.
The deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
She had that. I did love when she called him Sandor.
Yeah. As like, I finally respect you. You're off my list now.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I did not. I love Arya. Love the character. Don't get me wrong. Love the character from the books. I obviously named my daughter Arya.
Shout out Arya.
Love you, baby. But her plot armor is so thick, and it's just, I never once thought she was actually dead. And the one time that they could have, played off like she had a serious sense of loss is if she came out of that last like Dragonfire shooting and had a burned portion of her face.
Kind of like Gus Fring in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that would have been tight.
When he got blown up. Yeah, that would have been a good look. So this is another scenario in which if the show still had balls like it did when George was writing it, or he wasn't writing the show, but he was, providing the backup.
Helping them.
Yeah. She would have been trampled to death at some point in here, or even burned right there. Because what the whole thing, like we were talking about, was shot from ground level to kind of convey the hopelessness, the futility of the common man in this situation of like, they're just at the mercy of what Dany decides to do on her dragon right now. So this whole thing is shot from that, kind of looking up at it, seeing everything crumbling on her. There are no shots of Dany whatsoever. And what better way to convey that futility than the literal savior of humanity getting trampled to death in this, and not even a battle, just people running and she gets trampled. I kind of thought the same thing of like, this would be a poetic end for her, as she saves humanity and then dies in a mundane way. But at the same time, maybe they've got more planned for her still. I'll hold out hope for the last episode.
That'd be bittersweet.
Her near death count is very close to Sam and Tyrion's, though, of like, they almost died, but let's keep them going. The plot armor, as you say.
It's becoming The Walking Dead.
Yeah. And then she rides out on her white horse, which there's a lot of allusions to that.
I thought it was Harry Strickland's horse.
A lot of people say that. I don't know if it was or not. I have a hard time believing Harry Strickland's horse got out of that charge.
Yeah, I mean, there was like nobody there. And I thought I don't know about you, but she looked like Ygritte when she's like cooing the horse.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, holy shit, it looks
I didn't like, so she had all these blood streaks on her face, and she had like one right across her upper lip, and it kept looking like this like fake Zorro type mustache. And I'm like, they need to move that blood. Like, I can't handle that fake
better
mustache.
Better than a Hitler stash.
Yeah, I guess.
But I mean, the thing with Arya interacting with that peasant and her daughter, like, that did not make me feel anything.
No, like they tried to build up this peasant and daughter as like this. These are the people we're supposed to have feelings for in this episode, and they're the ones that are going to get the death instead of Arya, because they built up their characters for 3 minutes throughout the episode. We're supposed to care about them. Like, nobody in their right mind thought those two were going to make it out of this episode. I don't think.
Yeah, no one. I mean, if you would have even done it with a character like Hot Pie, and just had him in King's Landing, and going back to him and having Arya maybe run into him, that would have been cool. Yeah, I would have been down with that. But it didn't make any sense.
And if they did somehow make it out of that, the two peasants, like, we're never going to see them again. Like, nobody was giving any investment into these two people, so trying to build them up in that way is a little bit of a fool's errand, I would say.
And I mean, seriously, how much money did you waste making the peasant lady have more screen time than Harry Strickland?
Yeah. I mean, plus we could have had elephants. You could have spent your money on elephants instead of that lady.
Bastards.
Jon doesn't do a whole lot. He makes a good decision of pulling his men out. He doesn't want to be on the side of like just burning everyone alive. So he tries to retreat. And again, I just thought we were going to get that Jon versus Grey Worm, but that look definitely foreshadows a battle next episode.
There's going to be a throwdown. But really the only thing that caught my attention this episode with Jon is he couldn't keep his men in the heat of battle, which no one could. Like, that's just...
I don't think they could even hear them. There's buildings crumbling. There's
no. And I mean,
burning.
you can grab one dude all you want, but that's not going to add up. No. And then the killing of his own man. That was interesting, but it really didn't seem like it affected him all that much.
He who passes the sentence swings the sword.
Yeah. Well, that was a quick swing.
Yeah.
Thrust. Whatever.
Cersei, the Red Keep has never fallen. This is just not true. Her father helped the Red Keep fall, like 20 years ago. In show world, it was probably about 20 years ago. So like you should probably, even though if you don't know the history of Westeros, you should know what your dad did.
Yeah, no shit. Especially if you're repping House Lannister like
Yeah.
you do, you should probably know that. But I was really disappointed with Cersei this episode.
She didn't do a lot. Like she just
She
stood there
didn't
and be
do
like, "Oh, they'll
shit.
protect us."
Well, she cracked so quickly.
Yeah.
Like we saw her cry. When does Cersei cry? Like
Yeah.
she just started turning on the waterworks, and it
Mhm.
seemed like they didn't know what to do.
Well,
with her this season.
that was her Emmy scene. Yeah, they didn't. They gave her the baby with no purpose. The castle, I guess, is the Valonqar. There is no Valonqar.
Yeah, they threw all the prophecies out the window.
Well, to be fair to the show, they never mentioned the Valonqar. They deliberately left the Valonqar part of the prophecy out when they did the Maggie the Frog scene. So, like, we're all applying it, thinking that, okay, they're just not saying it because it would be too heavy-handed. Everybody would know it's coming. So, to give them credit, like, they left it out and then they didn't fulfill it because they didn't have to, because they didn't put the prophecy in there. But at the same time, it would have been nice to see.
Definitely.
She did. I mean, she died standing her ground for the most part. She retreated to Maegor's Holdfast and was going to run away with Jaime. But, I mean, in the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. And she made her choice. She waited there long enough that there was only one choice left.
Yeah, I felt like she was waiting for someone to tell her what to do.
She did get, like, just sneaked right past the Hound in the mountain after.
I thought that was so funny. Excuse me.
Yeah, I'll just, don't worry about me, guys. I'll be good.
Yeah, I'm all right.
I'm going to go see if Arya's around. You guys seen her?
She needs to borrow something from me. I don't know what it is, though.
Let's talk about Euron. Hot topic, Euron. Our favorite.
Eyeliner Euron.
Yeah, our favorite. Gets a close call from the Dragonfire, dives in the Blackwater Bay and swims to shore.
Tell you what, his timing is perfect.
Yeah, like he should have been jumping off that boat a lot earlier.
Yeah, no shit. And then he just magically gets on shore at the same time Jaime's walking by.
He meets up with Jaime. You know, that's fine, whatever. Plot conveniences have to happen sometimes in stories.
Yeah.
Has a battle with Jaime. Again, a pretty good, like, just hand-to-hand, one-on-one fight here between... Yeah, Euron should probably kick Jaime's ass because Jaime has one hand and Euron will fight dirty. And he kind of does, to an extent.
I had huge beef with this because if Euron's this mystical... badass pirate,
but he's not. Like the show has not built him into that at all.
Not at all. And in that context, you're 100% right. But he would have worked Jaime. It would have been over in 10 seconds.
Yeah, Book Euron would have definitely done some work.
Yeah, he would have fucked Jaime up.
So my problem here is, why isn't the baby mentioned? Like, he talks about he fucked the queen, blah blah blah. Why did the baby exist if it's not going to somehow come between Euron, Jaime, and Cersei? Why did the baby have to exist? And we've already talked about this a little bit, but like, why even put this plot line in there if it's not something that comes between Jaime and Euron, or Jaime and Cersei?
Yeah, I don't know why, and I think it was foolish to even put in. Like, it was just kind of
it wasn't
distraction.
Necessary. Yeah,
it was a distraction. That's why they wanted us to think and spend a bunch of time thinking.
Yeah,
about
it was a red
that,
herring.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's just Tyrion could keep saying she loves her children and she'll do anything for that. Trying to appeal to that, to give Tyrion 15 chances to appeal to her humanity over her children. But like, I guess there's nothing else. So, you know, he gets 2 good shots in on Jaime. Jaime stabs him pretty good. And then for some strange reason, he turns into Deadpool, stares directly into the camera, says, "I killed Jaime Lannister." What the fuck was that?
I have no idea. It was so dumb. And he didn't even kill Jaime Lannister. Like, what the fuck? That was the most pointless line in the entire episode.
He just looks up at the sky. Like, he looks directly into the camera up at the sky and says, "I killed Jaime Lannister." Like, all right. Hold on real quick. Thunk Tankers. I know you're out there. I know you listen to our Game of Thrones episodes. Love you guys. Check out Thunk Tankers. He's been on his season 8 meme game all over the place. I need a meme or meme, whatever you call it. Deadpool sitting on those, right? Replace Euron with Deadpool saying, "I killed Jaime Lannister." Get on that for me. Thank you.
I might be able to do that, actually.
Oh, you get it for me. Whoever, somebody do that for me, because that's what it felt like. Like, it turned into this wink at the camera for no reason.
It was
the weirdest thing.
Stupid.
Like, I literally laughed out loud at that moment of just like, what the fuck is going on?
I mean, in my head, I'm thinking that's the last thing you think about as you're bleeding out on a beach.
Like, why are you not
huh?
yelling after him? Like, you may have killed me, but my baby's still going to live on in your sister. Like, what?
Yeah,
That's where
get
it should
that
have come
roast
out.
in, son.
Yeah,
Get that in there.
instead, yeah. So a cool thought experiment was put forward by Jason Concepcion, who's on the Binge Mode podcast, which I've mentioned 100 times probably, and TheRinger.com does it's called Talk the Thrones after show on Twitter of every episode. And on the after show this week, he said it would have kind of been cool if Euron had this like deep obsession with Jaime as a Kingslayer and as a warrior, because it's been alluded to that after Robert's Rebellion, there was a Greyjoy rebellion in the north, and Jaime was one of the people like leading the cavalry and storming the castle and basically putting the Iron Islanders down. Like he cut so many men down, and Euron even alludes to that at some point of saying like he saw him on the battlefield, doing all these things. So it would have been kind of cool if they built up like this obsession of Jaime, of like almost the stalker fan kind of thing.
Yeah,
in
like
Euron's mind, like he wants to bang his sister because that's something that Jaime did. He wants to lead the Lannister army because that's something Jaime did. He wants to kill a king because that's something, like, if he has this kind of weird obsession with Jaime that's almost bordering on stalker, then this line of "I killed Jaime Lannister" kind of makes sense. Like he's fulfilling his dream, basically, of he thinks Jaime's the best warrior in history and he killed him. So he's the best warrior. Like that would have been a really cool thing to explore. Like obviously they did no setup for that, but I liked the thought of it put forward on the Talk of the Throne show.
That is an interesting thought. And if they took it even a step further, and as he looks into the camera and "I killed Jaime Lannister," after he's dyed his hair and styled it like Jaime and started dressing like him and shit.
Cut off his hand.
Yeah. Ooh, that would suck. His is just black though.
We've got one last character that we haven't talked about yet.
We've mentioned his name.
Yes, Jaime Lannister.
A very big controversial character.
Let me go first here, because I'm going to say something that I don't think anyone's expecting here.
Bring it.
I want to give the show a little bit of credit here. They picked what Jaime's defining characteristic was, love for Cersei, and they stuck with it. They didn't pull a cheap twist and, like I thought they wouldn't, have him kill her at the last minute. There was no Valonqar prophecy, so there was nothing for him to live up to there. It's my fault and other viewers' fault that I expected more out of Jaime than what they're actually presenting. But through the entire series, they presented Jaime as he's in love with Cersei and that's it. Now, there are other problems that stem from that I'll talk about in a minute after I give you your chance. But the show built him up as something, and they fulfilled that. He died in the arms of the woman he loved, and he never really faltered from that love for her. And the show did set that up. I just wasn't happy with it because I wanted them to set up something different.
Yeah, I'm in 100% agreement with you there. I was just disappointed because of the rapid, like with Daenerys, the rapid change in tone where I don't know, they dropped the ball with Jaime, and I felt like this was another time that they dropped the ball. Like, how quick? Why not?
They definitely ruined his character from what it is in the books.
Yeah,
but
that's my.
They built a character and they stuck with it. I'll give him that.
He's still a character that I enjoy watching. It's not like I hate Jaime, and I still cared about his arc. It's just not as what I wanted. Is a good way to say it.
Yeah. So now that we've got that out of the way. If that's the case, if this is Jaime's defining characteristic, why did he even ever go north? Why even include his tryst with Brienne? Why even have him falter? Why give us a glimmer of his redemption if it's not going to matter? If he's never going to be redeemed, why even hint at that he is redeemable?
Because it wouldn't mean shit if he came it just wouldn't mean anything.
He should have just stayed with Cersei. You don't have to bring in the Golden Company then. You have Jaime there leading the Lannister army. So if Jaime dies, in that battle, that's more meaningful than Harry Strickland dying there. You give Jaime something more to do than go up north, fuck up. Because he didn't do anything up north anyways.
No, he made Brienne a knight and took that.
Well, yes, he did do that. But in the battle for the north, he was mostly useless, just as everyone other than Arya was.
But somehow lived.
Right, yeah. And like, I guess if you're going to give him a reason to go north, then the reason should have been he has a Valyrian steel sword and Valyrian steel can kill the White Walkers. But even that never came into play. So why even send him up there? Keep Brienne south if you have to have him knight her and falter a little bit. Have him really grapple with Brienne versus Cersei while they're both around.
Yeah, in close proximity.
When he's only with Brienne, it's easy to make that decision. When he's only with Cersei, it's easy to make that decision. So have him stay by Cersei's side, but have Brienne stay down there as a hostage of the North or whatever. Also, cool. and then he can falter that way. He can visit her in prison, and he can knight her, and he can do all this stuff still be true to Cersei without having this convoluted, well, let's go up north and let's make everyone think he's actually in love with Brienne, but then really have him turn and go back to Cersei. Like, the whole going north was pointless.
It was, and I think I would have been more invested in the battle if it was Jaime Lannister leading the Lannister forces. He's a brilliant
I didn't care about Harry Strickland or the Golden Company at all.
I didn't give two shits about in the nameless captain that Grey Worm totally destroyed. But I didn't care about any of them, and I think that would have made you care a little more about the Lannister forces. Like, they tried to get you to do that when they saw
they
one
surrendered,
guy, waving the people through, like, oh man, maybe the Lannisters are the heroes here. No, this is dumb. Have a character I can identify with, like someone I've seen for 8 seasons, and you could have had him get wounded on the battlefield, go up to see Cersei, and die in her arms.
Yep.
That would have been cool. Or like a one-on-one with Jon Snow. That would have been dope.
Or Euron betrays them and Euron and Jaime have a one-on-one also. Like, there's a lot of things that you can do. Yeah. Or, you leave Brienne in the north and let her fuck Tormund in peace.
Yeah. Have giant babies.
Yeah.
12-pound babies.
So yeah, the no Valonqar thing, that's disappointing, but again, they've been telling us the whole time, like, it's not going to happen, and we just didn't listen. I think on rewatches, his lack of redemption and arc will be easier to stomach because I won't be expecting it. Like, I'll never expect him to turn against Cersei like he does in the books. And maybe in the books, he will return to Cersei. Like, right now, he's completely, like, he doesn't want to have anything to do with her. But maybe at some point down the road, he will return. I just think it'll probably be a little more earned in the books or, like, fleshed out than it was here.
Absolutely.
He's still going to be my favorite character. The show didn't do him justice, but, they let him die in the arms of the woman he loves.
Yep. Rest in peace, bro.
They got to go out the way they came in, holding each other. I guess that's what we want for them, huh?
Somewhat poetic, I suppose.
Yeah.
I really was upset with Cersei's death. It's like, man, that was lame.
Yeah, but turns out she's not the big bad anyways. There's somebody bigger and badder.
Yep.
We did get some deaths this episode. Varys died. Harry Strickland died. Euron died. Qyburn died. Hound.
Super died.
The Mountain. Cersei. Lots of civilians. Thousands, probably. And Jaime, who there are theories out there that Jaime is still alive. And the most prevalent theory of why Jaime is still alive, or like the backing for it, even though he was crushed in the same avalanche as Cersei. But everybody thinks Cersei's dead, but people don't think Jaime's dead. And it's because of like people's Instagram posts saying goodbye to like the actors behind Cersei and Euron and all these people. But there's none for Jaime. I'm like, okay, we're basing that he's still alive on Instagram posts. Like,
maybe they just don't like the dude.
Yeah. Maybe they're just like, oh, good. I'm glad I don't be in any scenes with him. Like, Jaime's dead. He has served his purpose. He died in the arms of the woman he loved. He's not coming back.
No, he's done though.
All right, we've run a little bit longer than usual on this one, but we wouldn't be.
We had a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we wouldn't be here if we don't talk about what happens next. It's the final episode. What do you got for us?
This is going to be tough.
I asked my wife, and she couldn't really come up with a good answer. She was like, she tried to say a bunch of things, and then she was just like, I don't know. I don't care.
I think Arya is going to try to kill Daenerys and die in the process. I think Jon Snow is going to strike Daenerys down and take up the crown. He's finally going to get to him. All the death and bloodshed, and he's going to see, obviously, that she's fucking nuts.
Well, I think he's already seen that.
Yeah, I think he's going to make a move for the crown.
That's interesting. You're probably one of the few people saying that Jon is actually going to take the crown. Most people say, like, the foreshadowing Tormund and all that. think he's definitely going back north. The most prevalent theory I've heard is that Jon and or Arya kill Dany. Jon retires north and Sansa ends up ruling in some capacity.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I have a bit of a different theory.
So,
Well, I think, we get kind of Jon and Arya starting to plan a way to kill Dany, and maybe Tyrion's in there too. I think we see some of these lesser great houses coming in to either pay fealty to Dany, like we see Prince of Dorne, we see Yara, we see Robin Arryn maybe come in, Gendry, all these people from all over the continent kind of come in to swear their loyalty to her, and I think we kind of get a council of them with Jon and Sansa and Tyrion, and maybe Sansa's not there because the north is far away, but like we get all of these people together, and they have to kind of make, and they have a small council kind of to discuss what to do about the Dany problem, because Dany is a problem. I don't think it's just as simple as they're going to kill Dany, or Jon just gets to go retire and live the life he wants to up north. I actually think Dany's going to live. I think Arya's going to kill Drogon somehow, and in doing that, also die. Again, I have no theory of how that would happen, but I don't think Arya's along for the ride. I think she's donezo.
Yeah, sadly, I think she's dead.
But I also think, and I've been saying this for pretty much every episode we did, like Drogon can't exist in the world. Otherwise, nothing. Like Dany's going to just be queen all the time if
Forever.
Drogon exists. Yeah. So I think Dany lives though, because she still has the Unsullied, she still has the Dothraki. Those are two pretty fierce armies. I think
definitely.
this council gets together and makes a decision, basically makes a pact of they are the Seven Kingdoms now. Dany can have King's Landing, Dany can have Dragonstone, because King's Landing basically doesn't exist anyways, and Dragonstone is an island off the coast, so like who gives a shit? But they're their own thing. Like she doesn't rule them. They rule themselves, and they set up kind of this democratic parliamentary type governing system. And I have a list of who I think would rule each area that I'll go over in a minute. But I think they basically just, after Drogon's dead, they're like, let her have what she wanted. She can have her throne, but she doesn't get a kingdom. And they take their kingdom and they basically secede from her altogether.
I'd be down with that.
I like that. Jon then gets to retire north. I think he rebuilds the wall, rebuilds the Night's Watch. I don't think we've seen the end of the threat from the north. I think there's probably more out there. Because the wall and the Night's Watch, they've got to exist. I just like the idea of them existing. So I said we got a democratic-ish system between the other kingdoms. I think Sansa's obviously ruling in the north. That's a given. We got Robin Arryn in the Vale.
Definitely.
Sweet Robin. He's probably a grown man by now. In Dorne, we have our unnamed prince that hopefully we'll see this episode. In the Reach, we've got Bronn taking up his castle that he was promised to by Tyrion.
That'd be cool.
The Stormlands, we have Gendry. He still gets to keep that. The Westerlands, we have Tyrion, obviously. Somehow makes it out of this episode after betraying Dany's trust. And then in the Riverlands, I've got a kind of a wild card. I've got Yara Greyjoy, because the Iron Islanders historically have ruled the Riverlands until Aegon's conquest, when he installed the Tullys because they were loyal to him.
Huh. That'd be cool.
Harren the Black, founder of Harrenhal, was actually an Iron Islander who came over, built a castle on the mainland, and ruled over the Riverlands until Aegon's conquest, and just torched the shit out of Harrenhal.
See, I'm so glad you know all this stuff, because it makes a whole lot more sense whenever you have that background information.
Yeah. Again, I know a lot of Westerosi. I put this my theory up on Quora the other day because somebody asked, what do you think happens with the final episode? And I gave basically a rundown of all of this. And somebody's like, why the hell would Yara rule the Riverlands? Like, what right does she have to the Riverlands? And I gave that explanation. I'm like, don't test me, bitch. Don't test me, Quora user. I don't know who you are. The other theory that I've heard, and this is from Binge Mode, again, their theory is that Bran somehow becomes ruler of all, like, because he doesn't want for anything, because he's all-seeing, he would be the best ruler because he would make decisions unemotionally. And they believe that there's kind of foreshadowing this in that conversation he had in episode 4 with Tyrion, where Tyrion was like, oh, what do you want? And he's like, I don't want anything anymore. So, like, and then Tyrion and Varys kind of have a conversation of what do you want in a king, somebody who wants what's best for the realm or somebody who doesn't want anything at all. And so that they think that those conversations kind of lead into them instituting Bran as just this kind of omnipotent ruler.
I could see that.
The problem with that is there's also no morality in that. You're only progressing through time. You're not saying, okay, what's actually going to be best. You're just going to say what's going to happen. So I don't know that Bran could be. I don't know. I feel like Bran needs to do something.
Work, but it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
He needs to do something for sure.
I think that would take a lot of legwork to explain also. Like there'd be a lot of exposition going into why Bran is ending up on the Iron Throne.
Probably a little too much.
And that can happen whether Dany lives or dies or any of this other stuff happens.
Yeah.
So that's all I've got for season 8, episode 5.
That's all I got myself, man.
We got one more.
Pretty cool episode. One episode left, y'all.
Yeah, this is on Patreon, but it is no longer an exclusive. We have released this to the masses. So if you're listening on Patreon, obviously thank you for that, for being a patron. If you're not, go over to Patreon and be a patron because there's other cool stuff over there.
Definitely. Lots of other cool stuff.
But even though the opening said it's a Patreon exclusive, I just didn't feel like changing the opening for this episode or the next episode. But this stuff is all on Patreon. We may even take it off the original feed after the fact. I don't know. I haven't thought that far ahead. I'm not Bran. I can't see everything.
Can't see the future. Not even fragments.
Not yet. And now our watch is ended.
The Bible says, man without vision shall surely